The weekly targeted loot reset is here, which means it's time to farm for those reactors. I've got the hottest zones lined up for you. As always, I've got a weekly grind guide ready for you to download. Links in the description below.
Tux makes it exciting!
I do things a little differently from others, and here's why. Grinding for reactors in the First Descendant, not exactly a blast. Sure, the devs are working on improving it, but right now it's a bit of a headache between not being able to reroll reactor attributes, stash space issues, sluggish loot rotations, the inability to share drops, and honestly, just bad luck with drop quality. It can feel like more hassle than it's worth. That's why I narrow my recommendations to spots that are actually worth your time. These zones are known for solid gold, Kuiper, and XP farming, which also makes them prime locations for reactor farming. If there's a standout reactor available somewhere else, I'll let you know. And if a farm is decent, though not amazing, I'll mention it too. But let's be real, waiting another week for the stars to align and finish your build, not fun. So let's jump into the best farms for the week and make sure you're not wasting time on pointless grinds. In the White Knight Gulch, there is the Fortress Outskirts. This is a really good farm for XP, gold, Kuiper, and those advanced neural circuits, or the blue brains. So this is the shipment-based zone, and this week it's gonna have chill with dimension and special rounds. So this does line up with Haley, although it's not the best. Ideally, you want chill special rounds with singular if you're gonna go with special rounds for some sort of mob build. But if you happen to be there farming for those blue brains, like most people are anyways, so look out for any drops that could be temporary placeholder reactors for your Haley until you get one better. As far as those secondary attributes go, look for additional damage to Colossus and singular damage. Otherwise, this farm is poopy. So in the Fortress Defense Line location, there's an outpost also known as the Volby Run. This is a really good farm for XP, gold, and Kuiper as well. This week, it's going to give you Toxic with Impact and Dimension, which aligns with Freyna. She's the only toxic we have right now. Impact rounds isn't super hot on her, and you're not normally looking to buff her dimension skill, which is her defensive skill. So this farm is poopy for reactors this week. However, Echo Swamp isn't too bad. In the Abandoned Zone, there's the Environment Contamination. This is a really good farm. You can take anybody in there, but bunnies do really well. You can clear it in about 30 seconds or so. And this is gonna have a chill special rounds with fusion. So this lines up for Viessa or Ultimate Viessa. And I like this one. Although it's not like super hot, it's actually a really good reactor. So I like building Viessa for general gameplay, so anything outside of Colossus. I like leaning more into her fusion than her tech, because two of her skills are fusion, and then her blizzard is tech, and you use the other two skills way more often. And her tech is already really strong, so I don't really feel like I need to overdo it on the tech. Now that's helpful for Colossus fights to go heavier on the tech, which is her blizzard, but for everything else, including dungeons or infiltration runs, I prefer leaning more into the fusion because I'm using them more. And again, the blizzard's just already strong. But with this reactor lineup, you can play best of both worlds. So you can run the Secret Garden and get that additional damage to tech, which is the blizzard, and you can run fusion on your reactor and get that additional damage to your 1 and 3, which are running off of fusion. So you're powering both, so it's sort of balanced that way. The Blue Beetle is also really good with her, which is a different type of ammo, but you could also argue that her crit chance is really high, and it's sort of not really that great to get an additional base crit increase. If nothing else, then you might as well buff her tech and just go ahead and run the Secret Garden. So I think this could be a really good main or full-time reactor for Viessa, and then I'd have a second one with chill special rounds in tech for just the Colossi fights, if you felt like you even needed that one. As far as secondary stats, I'd look for chill and fusion. You could also look for chill in tech or fusion in tech, or even range is nice on her if you're not capped out.
Let's do this!
So Sterile lands, there's the Kuiper mine. This is one of those where you run in a circle until the timer goes out and you're getting lots of gold and Kuiper, as well as tons of gear drops. So this location is really good for farming. The Kuiper mine is giving you chill high power. Again, it's with dimension. So if you're looking to run the piercing light with Haley, this could be a temporary reactor until you get one with singular instead. And then for those substats, you'd be looking for additional damage to Colossus as well as singular damage or chill. But otherwise, yeah, this is a poopy farm this week also. Also in Sterile lands, there is the ambush point. You can clear this one in about 30 seconds. It's a really good farm. This is going to be fire with fusion, and the mount will be special rounds. And the only one that this lines up for is Essimo, who's not doing super hot right now in the game. And even this reactor doesn't line up well with his skills. It's buffing his 4, which is really clunky. So this is a very poopy farm this week also. Okay, let's take a look at the other recommendations here. These are worth going over. Let's start with those external components. So in forward base, Hagios, we have auxiliary power. And I recommend getting at least that double max HP. And for the secondary stat, I'd look for MP recovery out of combat at least. So in the forward base, I definitely recommend Broadband Fleet Beacon. It's sort of like a runway for loot. There's a few bosses in there. You get some code breakers and pretty decent amount of gear. So if you need some auxiliary power, that's your spot. And then the other external component for the week is the memory unit, and you're gonna find this in Misty Woods and Echo Swamp. But I definitely recommend farming this Hazy Swamp here in Misty Woods. It's got 2 bosses at the end. It goes really fast, and if there's other people here, then you're covering a lot of ground with a couple of bunnies. Although it's not one of the hottest farms out there, it's good enough for farming external components. So definitely check this one out this week. All right, here's one you're gonna like. So in Agna Desert, the storage, you're gonna get chill, impact, and singular lining up. And that's great for Haley because the perforator ends up being a really good weapon to run with her. If you're spamming in on that trigger, you can actually get more shots out of that and more DPS than the piercing light. Chill damage, singular damage, and definitely damage to Colossus is what you'd be looking for there. And as far as where to farm, I'd say go for the previous construct team quarters. This is as good as any, and you get a boss encounter. Doesn't take too long. Decent amount of drops. Next for Haley, we have a piercing light mount. So in Sterile land, it's gonna be chill, high-powered rounds with singular. This isn't the worst farm. It's not the best, but what you're looking for is that piercing light, chill damage or singular, and then additional damage against Colossus. And that's because Haley just does really good against Colossus. So you want to boost that damage. As far as where to go, this isn't a really good spot. I like the weapon processing facility. It's pretty quick and it's got a couple of bosses you can fight in there. All right, if you're getting ready for Ultimate Freyna or you're building up your regular Freyna, then this one's for you. So in Vespers, in the Timberfall zone, you got toxic, special rounds, and tech. This is a really good lineup. So Freyna also does really well with the Secret Garden. And so that would be the mount here you're looking for. And then toxic damage and tech damage, as well as duration, cooldown, or range are all really good secondary stats on her besides damage. As far as farms, not too many great ones. This one does pretty good. Ancient Giant Tree. It goes relatively quickly. It's not my favorite, but there's a decent amount of drops. Here's a hot one for Viessa. So earlier I mentioned that there's the Secret Garden mount on a chill fusion reactor, and that one works for all content. Here's the one for the Colossus fights. So you're looking for a Secret Garden mount, chill damage, and tech on the reactor. For those 2 additional stats, you could look for any of the skill damages like chill, tech, or even fusion. Range and cooldown are also nice on her, but if you're going to specifically be running this reactor for those boss fights, then additional damage to Colossus would be really helpful here. As far as where to go, there's a fight here called Volgastad Transmitter. It's pretty easy and quick, and there's lots of good drops. Hey, by the way, stay tuned. Make sure you are subscribed and have your notifications turned on because I have a new guide coming out within the next 24 hours, and it's going to be all about those code breakers and getting them fast so you can stock up on all of those required materials locked behind vaults that you need for catalysts and activators. This is gonna make it way easier. Catch you on the next one. Thank you for hanging out with me. My name is Tuxedo Bandido. That's Tito Bandido.
One and only.
And this was another episode of The First Descendant. If you found this video helpful, subscribe, like, and turn on notifications to ensure you don't miss out on the fantastic experiences waiting for you in The First Descendant. And if you like videos like this, check out the one I have recommended for you right here. If you have anything you want to see covered, be sure to let me know in the comments below. And thank you to all the channel members and donors who make everything possible. Tux Nation wouldn't be without you.
When you buy or download anything for the First Descendant, be sure to use Tux's creator code to support the channel. Easy peasy.
Follow me.